the show, John. How you doing, dude? This is a treat and an honor, man.
Well, thanks, Michael. I'm doing okay.
So tell me what I'm with the moon. Okay, and I can pull up this article right now. I just saw it. Another article. It's almost like I see them almost every day. NASA wants to. This is off CNN 10 hours ago. NASA wants astronauts to go back to the moon in 2024. Is it possible, with a question mark? And I'm going to ask you, John, is it possible?
No, we aren't going anywhere. The Van Allen belt was put around Earth by ET, the guys that made us, specifically, so we can't contaminate our solar system. Now, NASA tells us that we've got 9 planets. We've actually got 40 planets, and each one of those 40 planets has a civilization in the numbers of hundreds of millions. And there's so much going on in our solar system. Our moon was built, it's essentially a spaceship. It was built on Jupiter about 38 million years ago. And between then and now, it's been touring our solar system, going in orbit around the planets, watching what's going on, helping here, helping there. And 15,000 years ago, it was towed and placed into orbit around the Earth. And the electromagnetic vehicle, that's EMV, electromagnetic vehicle, is stored in the crater Tsiolkovsky, which is on the far side of the moon. You can actually look at some of the lunar orbiter pictures and see it sitting right in there. It's a huge machine. But anyway, the moon has a surface population of maybe 250 people. They're humans just like us, but far, far more advanced, both sociologically and technologically. They do all kinds of stuff up there. They have farms. They have industry. They trade with the other planets in our solar system. A lot of stuff going on there. Now, NASA's told us that the gravitational pull of the moon is 1/6 that of Earth. It's not. It's 69.71. And the person that figured that out was Perry Spolter. And she wrote a book in 1993 called Gravitational Force of the Sun. And she shows you scientifically, mathematically, exactly why what gravity is. It's not what we think it is. It has nothing to do with density or size of an object. It's something else. And based on that, the only way we can find out the gravitational pull of a planet is to measure the time and distance, time and altitude that it goes around. So she figured out that the moon is 69.71% that of Earth. It has a breathable atmosphere. The people don't have to live in domed houses. They can walk out and enjoy the outside. They come down and moon people come down and pick up various people, scientists, teachers, businessmen, and they take them to the moon for a 2-week visit. And they show them all the industry they got. They put them on their maglev trains and take them around the moon. And when they come back, they're not sworn to secrecy. It's just that nobody would ever tell that story because nobody would ever believe it, because we've all been brought up to think that the moon is dead, has no atmosphere, has no gravity. That's all bullshit. But there is a civilization up there that's very far advanced, and not them, but the ETs that made us. And if you want, about 2-3 weeks ago, I posted on my Facebook page Disclosure 101, and it came in 3 parts, and it told exactly who made us, how they made us, why we're here, and basically the reason we're here is because, and let me say here, Earth, there's billions of Earths. Now, the basic misunderstanding is that there was a big bang and the universe evolved from that. That's not. The universe and the thousands and millions and trillions of universes, other universes, has always been there and will always be there. There is no creator, there is no God. But anyway, the ETs that made us put the Van Allen belt around the Earth, a very strong radiation force, so that we couldn't go anywhere, so that we couldn't contaminate our solar system with our backwards ideas. We're here on Earth. We've all lived hundreds of lives. You've lived 200 or 300 of lives. I've lived 200 or 300 of lives. And we're here on Earth because in our last few lives, we made some mistakes. And we're down here on Earth for only one purpose and one purpose only. And that's to live our lives with integrity, without envy, without hate, without greed, and to express our love to our families each and every day. That's all we got to do. Now, when we pass away, when we die, we go into the fourth dimension. This is the third dimension. We go into the fourth dimension, which people call heaven. It's actually much, much, much better than heaven. You get to meet all your old friends from the previous lives you've lived, and then you go into a life review. And the life review is a full-color Dolby sound, right in your face, life as you lived it, every single millisecond. There are no secrets. They show everything. They know everything. And you have to account for the bad things you've done. They congratulate you and for all the good things you've done. And after this review, this life review of your life, somebody makes the decision, and I don't know who it is, whether or not you have to come back to Earth or whether you can stay there in the fourth dimension. Now, if you've been a bad boy or a bad girl and you haven't lived your life with integrity, without envy, hate, or greed, you have to come back to Earth and try it again. And but if you have lived, if you've even tried to live with integrity, without envy, hate, or greed, you get to stay there in the fourth dimension. It's a fantastic place. It's a spirit world. You live a couple lifetimes up there, and then you can ascend to the different dimensions. Now, people say, well, how many dimensions are there? There are infinite dimensions. And sometimes it's hard for people to grasp because we just understand the first dimension, second dimension, third dimension. Maybe we think the fourth dimension is time, but actually there's infinite dimensions and infinite universe. If people would understand how big things are, they would realize there cannot be a God. Can't. Impossible. There cannot be a creator, because this place has always been here and always will be here. So anyway, the people that created it put the Van Allen belt, and so that we stay here. We learn how to live our lives with integrity without envy, hate, or greed, and we can't get out and go anywhere because of this Van Allen belt. Now, they faked the reason the Apollo missions were faked is they knew they couldn't go anywhere. And after World War II, actually 3 months before World War II, Germany had been working on an atomic bomb, and we had been working on our atomic bomb. In our atomic bomb, we could make everything. We could make the initiator. We could make the all of the things that were internal to an atomic bomb. But we couldn't make the plutonium that we needed. Whereas Germany, they couldn't make the initiator or any other stuff, but they could make the plutonium. So 3 months before the end of World War II, they came to us and they said, look, we'll give you the plutonium you need to make your bomb, to bomb Japan. And all we ask is that at the end of the war, you let 5,000 SS Nazi troops into your country and give them full citizenship with no questions asked. And that was the beginning of the downfall of the United States, because and incidentally, the people that agreed to that and contrived that was John Foster Dulce, who was Secretary of State, Alan Dulce, his brother, who was head of the CIA, and Eleanor Dulce, their sister, who was head of the Berlin desk. And between those three people, all these Nazis got into the United States and started taking everything over. They, first of all, they took over NASA, which was NACA in those times. They took over major corporations. One of them was Bell Helicopter. The only reason for there's actually two reasons for the Vietnam War. One was to sell helicopters, and the other I'll talk about in a few minutes. But during the middle of the World War II, the Germans united with the Jews, the Zionist Jews, and people said, "Oh no, that's impossible. The Jews, they gassed 6 million." No, that was a story. That was a cover story, and the reason they put that cover story out was so that nobody would believe there was an alliance between the Nazis and the Zionists. But it's now called the Nazi-Zionist Alliance. Their main world headquarters is up there at the Nevada test site, and they essentially have control of the entire United States. Now, if you followed any of the discovery programs on Hitler after the war, he went first to Spain. He lived in a monastery there. Then several months later, he went to the coast, got in a submarine, and he went over to Tenerife, those islands off the coast of Africa. And then he went to Argentina, lived there a few years, then came to the United States, and he died in the United States in 1968 at the Mayo Clinic. But he was essentially one of the people that ran the Nazi Zionist infiltration of the United States. One of the stories I wrote on my Facebook, and I'll have to tell you, for the last 2 years, I've been posting the secrets that I know. And one of the secrets that I talk about is in 1982, I flew for the Department of Energy, and my job, and I flew an OB-10 Bronco, which is a North American turboprop. And my job was to fly around the perimeter of where they'd set off the underground nuclear blasts. And I'd get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, get out there, and like if the shot was at 6, I'd start 2 hours before, and I'd fly the entire perimeter from ground level to 10,000 feet, and I'd give them the wind direction and wind velocity from my inertial navigation system. And what they wanted to be sure was that if it did bend, which the bomb is a mile underground, and very unlikely it would, but if it did bend, they wanted to be sure that the wind was such that it wouldn't carry the debris into Las Vegas. So that was my job. Now, during that time, I saw a lot of things, just, flying around for 2 hours every morning. I didn't get to see anything at Groom Lake because that was far over to the northeast of where I was. But I did see to the north of where I was flying a huge area of white. And I couldn't figure out what would make something that had to be 100 acres of just white. And I couldn't get close enough to see what was making it white. 10 years later, I found out what they had done is they'd taken off the top of a mountain at the Paiute Mesa, and they had built a secret base inside, which the base was the base for the Nazi Zionist Alliance, and I call the Nevada test site the kingdom of the Nazi Zionist Alliance. They built a secret base in there, about a mile underground, and then they put the top of the mountain on. Now, when they took the top of the mountain off, it happened to be all quartz, and that was what was seeing. That was what the white that I was seeing was all this quartz lying around. And when they finished the base, they put the top of the mountain back on, and they got ready to operate. Now, to operate this base, they needed between 2,000 and 3,000 people a day, and they had to move them up in the morning to go to work, and they had to move them back in the evening to go to their homes. They couldn't let them drive. They couldn't bus them. They couldn't put them on airplanes because that would give away that there was a secret base going on, and they didn't want anybody to know about it. Now, the people that work at Groom Lake and Tonopah Test Range and a few of those areas, they get taken up there by special projects, and special projects operates 5 Boeing 737s. They're white with a red stripe. And they take them up in the morning. Actually, it's 24 hours a day. They take them back and forth. And the people who run the new secret test sites couldn't get more 737s because they wanted to be a secret. So what they did is they built, at the cost of $2 billion, a secret underground high-speed maglev subway. And it goes from the Luxor to the Bellagio and then up to the Paiute Mesa. And the trip only takes 21 minutes. And they make trips all day long up there. And they built this huge, huge subway operation in complete secrecy. And the reason they picked the Bellagio is because the Bellagio already had underground parking. And they put a secret tunnel from the underground parking to the terminal that's 100 feet below the ground to where they could board the trains, now the subway. Now, the reason they used the Luxor as a terminal was because just across from the Luxor is McCarran Airfield, where Special Projects had their base. And anybody that was authorized to go up to the secret test site, all they got on was this moving sidewalk that took them from Special Projects under Las Vegas Boulevard to the secret terminal under the Luxor. Then they get on the subway, go to the Bellagio, pick up more people, and then go up to the site. And that's why they had the terminal at Luxor.
I don't mean to interrupt you, John, but what are they doing, I guess, with these tunnels? Because there have been many researchers that over the years that have talked a little bit about these I guess you could say there's many names of them, the cabal, the rogue government, or I guess just like you stated, the Nazi alliance. Well, what is the agenda of creating these vast subterranean networks, these veins up underneath our feet? Are they preparing for something in days, into times? What's going on here, John?
Yes, they're preparing for something, and nobody has any idea what it is they're preparing for. They have huge 6-lane highways going to all of the major cities in the United States, and they have huge underground towns. And I don't know what they're preparing for. I do know that the base at the Nevada test site, the one that I'm telling you about, the new secret, is where the headquarters is for the Nazi Zionist Alliance.
And so within that base, that's where this vast subterranean network of these maglev trains and these other networks put underneath our feet, that's where it originates from, correct?
No, that's just one subway from Las Vegas to the new base. It used to be called Sandia. I don't know what it's called these days. That's a separate operation. The ones that you're talking about, that are Los Angeles and go to Dallas, Phoenix, and back east, all that's a separate operation. Those are separate tunnels that they use. And in addition to that, the third set of tunnels that was made by AT hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years ago, and that's the one that the Navy uses to take their people all over the world. That's a separate tunnel system. And when they're building the current tunnel systems, every once in a while they'll run into that a tunnel, and they're just told to go over it or under it, not to disturb it. So they just leave those intact.
Are there ETs currently down there also, maybe working alongside certain groups to for maybe some nefarious agenda?
Absolutely. I don't know whether it's nefarious or not, but inside the planet Earth, there's 800 civilizations that live there and work there. And people find that hard to believe. They say, oh, there can't be that much room. Yes, there is that much room. And there's all kinds of people that live inside the Earth, including the reptilians that essentially control us. Now, in my disclosure, I told how mankind was started. The serpents, who are trillions of years older than we are the head group, and they do all the manufacturing of every single thing that lives on Earth. They do animals, insects, fish, monsters, humans, everything. They do that, and they're kind of aligned with the reptilians who work for the serpents. And the reptilians' job is to keep everything going, to keep everything organized, and they live underground too. You'll never see them because they don't want their existence revealed. Now, they make deals with the various planets, and like I say, there's a billion Earths all doing the same thing, taking people, taking humans who need a little bit to refresh their course on living with integrity without envy, hate, or greed. And they organize that stuff and be sure that that's exactly what we're supposed to do.
So with these serpents that you're just talking about, and the reptilians also, but these serpents, you stated, what do they do with humans? Do they experiment on us, or do they create maybe certain hybrids, or are we the hybrids, John? Are we part of their, maybe I'm not saying everybody on Earth, but are certain groups of the population, maybe some of their experiments down there?
Not experimenting. They have specific plans for all different. There's all different kinds of humans that have jobs of this and jobs of that, and we're just one part of humans. Now, basically, the human is the type that we are, the type that are on the moon. Now, the 250 million people that live on the moon look identical to us, except they're not from Earth, and they are technologically and sociologically much, much more advanced than us. They have been around for a long time. So when we say we're going to the moon, that's all bullshit. We're not going anywhere. And the only reason we can get to the moon is if ET comes and guys on the moon come down and take us there. And then we can see what's going on. Now, in 1956, there was a guy named Howard Menger, and he was interested in UFOs. And they came and picked him up and took him to the moon for 2 weeks, gave him the royal tour, showed him and let him taste all the fantastic foods they got up there, and they gave him a real royal tour. And when he came back, he wrote a book called From Outer Space to You, and you can get that at Amazon or Lulu because the book is still around. And in that book, it tells his experience of going to the moon, what he saw, what the people were like, and after he came back, he became a advisor to the Pentagon on what was going on to the moon. So essentially, the Pentagon has known all along what's going on. So one of the things he told us was that the daytime color of the sky on the moon. Now, the moon has 13 days of light, daytime, and then 13 days of night. And during the 13 days of the light, the color of the sky is saffron yellow. And on my thelivingmoon.com, our website, we have the exact color of the sky. And the way I did that is, that was like 10, 15 years ago. I emailed Howard Menger, and I sent him some swatches, 6 different swatches of saffron yellow, each one just a little bit different. And I asked him to put an X on the one that more closely matched the moon's sky. And he put an X on there, and that set of 6 swatches is at thelivingmoon.com. You can see that actual set of 6 swatches that I sent to Howard Menger. And that's how we can know the color of the moon. Now, when NASA put the fake pictures of walking around on the moon, they made the mistake of making the sky black. It's not black. In the daytime, it's saffron yellow. So a lot of us really enjoyed that.
But with the moon, you stated this a while ago, earlier in the show. You talked about the moon, and you mentioned this before on another interview that I did with you in the past, that the moon was created in Jupiter. But explain a little bit more about that. And I guess what I'm trying to go with this, John, is if it was created in Jupiter, of course, there had to been extraterrestrials that lived there. And if there was, what does your gut tell you? What kind of ETs were there, and or are there still ETs there now?
Michael, there's all kinds of ETs. I mean, this universe is so big, it's impossible to explain to people how big it is and how much is going on. Now, NASA tells us that 4 of our planets are gas giants. Now, there's only one gas giant in our solar system, and it's spelled NASA. That's the only gas giant. All the places that they call gas giants, those are planets that civilizations live on there, and they do everything that we do. They farm and they trade and they do all kinds of stuff. And the same goes for their supposed other 4 giants, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, and whichever the other one was. But in our solar system, like I say, there's 40 different planets, and those planets each have 1 or 2 or maybe more moons where there's civilizations on that. So there's so much going on. You'll find out that this guy Bezos, he's building a rocket, and he says he's going to populate the solar system. Boy, is that guy ever done. I can't believe that people are that he is actually going ahead with that. He's very misinformed. I don't know whether NASA's telling him that or not telling him what, but this guy Bezos, and I think you know his first name. Is it Jeff Bezos?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You know, I just can't believe that he's spending money on projects that are so ridiculous to put morons from Earth into the solar system. It ain't going to happen.
What about Mars, John? Because, you know, that's in the plans too. I've heard Mars missions. They're going to try to go to Mars in 2030, I believe, or something like that. Or will we be able to go to Mars, or will we not be able to pass the Van Allen belt?
Going anywhere. Now, there's a couple of civilizations up on Mars, and they've been at war for 200 or 300 years. They've got their own problems. We, you know, even if we could get there, they wouldn't let us go there. As you know, of the 55 or so orbiters that we've sent up there, half of them have been shot down or disabled. They don't want us there. They got their own problems. And we certainly have no need to get there. Now, when Bob Lazar worked up at S4, he was shown color, high resolution, very close-up pictures of the Cydonia region. And you know that the Cydonia region is where they found the pyramids and the face that was carved. And in those pyramids, he could clearly see doors and windows and balconies. Those pyramids are like giant apartment or giant hotel, probably giant apartments there. And he and I, we wanted to find out more about those 2 pictures. And we drove down to STL Space Technology Laboratories, and we had the name of the guy who was head of the Mars program photography. I forget his name now, but just on an absolute whim, which Bob and I were always doing crazy things, we drove right up to STL. We walked into the lobby, signed in. They said, "Who do you want to see?" We said, gave this guy's name. And he said, "Just a minute." We get escorted up to the guy's office, and we were one-on-one talking with him for a half an hour. So what we asked him is, we had these pictures that were found, the 2 pictures of Cydonia region. Did they take other pictures? He said, no, that was it. And so then Bob asked him, did we ever go into lower orbit? Because it had to be lower orbit to take these pictures that he saw. And the guy says, yes, but we didn't take any pictures. that's how compartmentalization works, you know. He's the head of the program, and they go into lower orbit, take pictures, but he doesn't get to know that they took pictures. That was crazy how that stuff worked. So, yeah, there's a lot going on Mars that we aren't going to visit. I believe that most of the rovers that we sent up there and all the nice pictures of Mars you've seen were taken in Death Valley. And NASA has a big area out there that nobody can get into, and that's where the rovers go around. That's why in some of the Mars pictures you see helicopters and clouds in the sky that look like Earth. That's because it is Earth. Mm-hmm. So that's where those rovers take the pictures of. It's hilarious. Now, they say, well, who's in charge of those Mars pictures? The guy that's in charge of those Mars pictures, a guy named Michael Mallon. That's why all the pictures come out of Mallon Space Systems. Now, Michael Mallon at one time, and I'm talking 35 years ago, was really interested in the Billy Meyer case, but he was so knowledgeable, NASA had to pull him away from that Billy Myers case to, hey, you don't want to mess around with Billy Myers case. We got something for you. You know, we're going to go to Mars and make pictures, and we want you to distribute them. That's why all the pictures from Mars say Mallon Space Systems.
That's awesome. Did you see it was in the news, I believe yesterday or today about Mars, that there was I'm trying to find it as I speak, mysterious white light on Mars seen in NASA photo. This one was off Fox News 10 hours ago, and several other, the independent mysterious glowing light on Mars captured by NASA's Curiosity probe. Have you seen that picture yet?
I think I saw it, and I don't have any idea what it is. Yeah. There's so many interesting things going on the moon, no telling what it is, assuming
this one was on Mars, actually.
There's so many things going on Mars. Oh, the picture was on Mars? Oh, yes. I thought it was on.
No, I will try to pull it up here in just a minute for you. But when it comes to Mars, you stated that we're not going to go there and that there are extraterrestrials there right now. Is that okay? And is this part of what Joseph Farrell has talked about with the cosmic war? Because you said that the people on Mars have been with war. Are they with war with each other? Because I know Joseph Farrell talked about the cosmic war and that some of the interplanetary breakaway elites, they fled here to Earth in ancient past. What's your thoughts on that?
That they came from here?
Yes. There was an ancient cosmic war in the ancient past, and I believe he stated that some of the elites of the ancient past, some of them I believe was from Mars, and there was just a cosmic war, and some of these interplanetary breakaway elites, I guess you could say, ancient breakaway civilization came here and seeded life on Earth. I could be quoting them wrong, but it was pretty. It was pretty close to those remarks. What's your thoughts on that, John?
Well, we have visitors from Mars. That's what Bigfoot and the thing in the Himalayas and all those weird-looking creatures with the big hair on them and all that. Those are Martians. But what you're seeing, or what people are seeing, that's a costume. That's a zip-up costume that they put on because they don't want us to see what they really are. There's not all that many of them, but yeah, they are definitely from Mars.
So back to, I guess, the reptilians. I meant to ask you this a while ago also. David Icke has done some pretty good research in the past and even to the present about the reptilians and also shapeshifters and the royal families. They're all reptilian in nature, but what's your thoughts on David Icke's research? Is he pretty accurate with his accounts, with his research on reptilians?
I never read any other person's research. I do my own And I talk about my own, and I don't try to compare it to anybody else because I really don't know what they're talking about. Now, I've heard that the Queen of England is reptilian. I don't know whether that's true or not. It certainly could be true. I mean, that's possible. But whether it is true or not, I don't know.
And I'm still trying to pull up this. It won't send that photo that I told you with Mars that I'm trying to send it through the messenger here on Zoom. But anyways, okay, back to I guess you say the Nazi alliance, because you stated this before in the past when I interviewed you before but okay, let's say with the presidents, we can say President Trump. Now, I'm of the belief that presidents are selected, they're not elected. And at least I would say 90% of them. So if they are selected, then who is doing the selections? Is it these Nazis that you say have infiltrated our government and just the inter networks within the U.S. government?
Absolutely. Now, Trump is one of our smartest presidents. The unfortunate thing is he's surrounded himself with Zionist advisors, and all they're interested in is using the American military power to disable the 6 major Muslim countries in the Middle East. And because Israel has, or the Nazi Zionist Israel alliance is so powerful, they might get away with it. This stuff about Iran is total bullshit. Iran has never attacked anybody in 250 years. The heads of Iran are not the brightest people in the world, but the Iranians themselves, the people, are great, fun-loving, smart people. There's no reason we should attack Iran. The only reason is because Israel has surrounded Trump and told him, oh, this is going on and that's going on, and you need to get your military to help us out. And the ship that was bombed here last week, that was bullshit. Israel did that. And the drone thing that happened yesterday, I think it was, that we got shot down. Let me tell you something about our drones. If we don't want it to get shot down, it's not going to get shot down. That story about Iran shooting the drone down was specifically to, make people think, oh man, those guys are bad guys. They shot down our drone and they're blowing up ships, and we got to go in there and get them. For some reason, Trump pulled out of that idea, and I'm really proud of him because, the story is that they told him that at least be 150 people killed, and it'd be a lot more than 150 people. But he made the smart decision, and someday he's going to realize that he's getting some real piss poor advice. I think he's smart enough to figure that out.
I'm really surprised. Let's say he is not being controlled and manipulated. I'm just saying, for an example, I'm surprised that he hasn't been taken out, if you catch my drift.
That way?
I'm surprised he hasn't been taken out, like JFK or,
been there for a specific reason. And every president that's elected, a couple weeks after he's elected, a group goes in there and they tell him the facts of life. And they say, this is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to do it. And this is how you're going to explain it. And they tell him everything. The president doesn't make decisions. He's just there as a figurehead. And as I said before, in the security clearances, there's 38 levels. The lowest level you can get is top secret. And above top secret, there's 28 levels of top secret crypto. And then above top secret crypto, there's 10 levels, and each has a different name, like Umbra, Ultra, Saturn, different names like that. The top one being Majestic. The president of the United States only gets security of maybe 17. he doesn't get to know very much because he doesn't need to know very much to do his job. And so that's why Clinton wanted to know more about UFOs. I'm not going to tell him because that's none of his business. That's why a few years ago, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff wanted to know, he had enough information he wanted to know about UFOs. And his aide said, I'm sorry, sir, you don't have enough high enough clearance. He says, high enough clearance? I'm the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. How much higher do you got to be? And he really got irritated that he didn't have a high enough clearance. But there's, the people that run the country and run the UFO cover-up and stuff, they're way up there in security clearances. Now, security clearances are also compartmentalized. So if you have top secret crypto 17, you don't get to know everything that's going along in top secret crypto 17. All you get to know is the thing you need to know to do your job.
And that's kind of a perfect segue to lead into my next point or my next question. One of the questions I was really wanting to ask you is all you do is a simple Google search. Okay, let's just Navy or Navy government UFOs or just Navy UFOs, and you'll have many search results pop up. It's in the news almost every day. CNN, senators receive classified briefing on UFO sightings. The Independent, UFOs, Pentagon gives classified briefing to Congress members. Popper Mechanics, Trump senators have been briefed on UFO sightings. Huffington Post, Congress briefed on classified UFO sightings as threat. Now, tell me your thoughts on this, John. What's going on here?
With the UFOs that people are seeing?
No, with the Navy when they first came out a few years ago, when they came out with the ATIP program, I believe is the name of it, the $22 million program, the government investigation into UFOs.
Oh, that whole thing is a scam. And the way it started is Nevada Senator Harry Reid retired a couple of years ago after 30 years at being a Nevada senator. And he got used to having a free lunch every day. So when he gets out, he wants to know where his free lunch is coming from. So he knew a little about the cover-up, and he knew the Pentagon knows so much more than they're letting on. He knows that the Pentagon has at least 60 extraterrestrial craft hidden away. He knows they have at least 120 bodies of completely different ET civilizations. He knows that they have fantastic movie film and still film of the crash recoveries. But he went to him and said, look, I'll be the disclosure guy, and all I want is $22 million to run the program. Well, this worked out great for the Pentagon because they don't want people asking them because they don't want to tell them the truth. So they get a guy like Harry Reid who's going to be Mr. Disclosure and give him the $22 million. He allies up with Bob Bigelow, and Bob Bigelow is a very wealthy guy here in Las Vegas that's made many, many hundreds of millions of dollars in the motel business and hotel business. And he became interested in UFOs when the Bob Lazar story came out. And he and Bob Lazar actually went into business. They have a company called Zeta Reticuli 2, and Bob Bigelow financed the whole thing. And he wanted, they got a laboratory over there near McCarran Field, and he wanted Bob to work there. And they got all kinds of fancy equipment and computers and just everything you need for a scientific lab. And he wanted to be able to bring his friends over to this lab whenever he had these friends, and he wanted to brief them to show them his little scientist, Bob Lazar, working on some new cool stuff. Well, of course, that wasn't the way Bob Lazar saw it. What he wanted to do, as soon as the stuff came to the laboratory, he'd move it to his house where he could work with it himself and not have to go to work every morning. Whereas Bob Bigelow thought he was going to check in at 9 o'clock in the morning and work till 5. No, that's not the way Bob Lazar thought. He was going to take all the cool stuff, move it over his house, and do whatever he wanted to do. So, needless to say, that partnership, that company broke up about a year later, and they've never had anything to do with each other. But that's how Bob Bigelow got interested in the UFO stuff. Now, if there's one thing the secret government doesn't like, that's somebody who's interested in UFOs and has a lot of money. And so they represent a big problem to them. So what they did is after Bob Bigelow broke up with Bob Lazar, they went to him and they said, look, we need some help in space, and you're the guy to help us. And what we want is for you to build some hotels for some of our operations up there, and you're just the guy we need. But we want you to forget about that UFO stuff because it's not true, and you're wasting your time. So Bob Bigelow accepted because he could see himself getting all kinds of security clearances and finding out all kinds of cool stuff. After about 10 years, he found out he's not learning anything. And it was completely different from what he saw. So that's why he allied with Harry Reid, and they are going to be Mr. and Mrs. Disclosure, and they're going to tell the public what's going on, which is all bullshit.
So before we start rounding things up for this time, John, I guess earlier, it kind of ties into the these vast networks that are up underneath our feet. I know you've heard of Phil Schneider and his story with Dulce, but I don't know if I've ever asked you your take on Dulce, New Mexico, with that base. And because I remember you posted a few weeks ago, I believe, something, or maybe somebody shared something on your page of Dulce, and that was a pretty cool post. I'll try to share that within the video also. But what is your thoughts on Dulce, and was there an actual some type of war battle going on down there?
No. Phil Schneider was full of bullshit. Now, Phil did work in deep underground bases. He did have the security clearance, but he never went to Dulce, and there was never a firefight. Now, what there was is there was an altercation. And I got into Dulce in 1987 when I was invited to Crestone, Colorado with 8 other UFO researchers, and we spent a couple of days sharing information. One of these researchers was a guy named Tom Adams from Texas who ran a operation called Stigmata, and he was primarily interested in mutilations. But anyway, during the meeting, he handed me a letter from somebody in Henderson, Nevada, and the letter outlined what was going on at Dulce, and that they knew a security guard who had escaped, and given them pencil drawings and a box of material which contained 7 minutes of videotape in the hallway, 25 black and white photos of the laboratories, and 100 pages of technical information. And it came in a box that was very well sealed. The security guard gave 6 of those boxes to 6 of his friends and told them, keep this is what's in it. And if I don't, he would contact these people every 4 months. He said, if I miss 2 contacts, 8 months, that means they got me back. And then you can do whatever you want with those boxes. So it turned out that the person who wrote the letter to Tom Adams, and Tom Adams said, John, would you take care of it? I don't have time to do it. And besides, you live in Las Vegas. He said, okay. So got to Las Vegas, and it turns out the contact was Cherry Hinkle. Now, Cherry Hinkle has a Facebook page. She's still around, a very nice lady. We met, and this is 30 years ago at least. And she told me the story of Dulce, the fact that she had a friend who was a security guard there, that he escaped, and gave her one of those boxes. And she took me down to where she hid it, which was in Dolan Springs, between the Boulder Dam and Kingman. And we drove down there, and she showed me the mountain where she had climbed up and buried it up there. So in 1996, he had missed, the security guard had missed 2 contacts, and they even waited one more. They waited 12 months, and then they knew that he had been either captured or killed, and they could do whatever they want with their boxes. So she, and I think it might have been Bill Hamilton that was on the recovery team, and I think they made 6 or 4 or 5 trips to find the box, and they never found it. So I have a couple friends that work at Dulce. It is a real place. It has been there for a long, long time. We do interact with the ETs that work there. If you go down the hallway, you see all kinds of different ETs. It's a mile underground, and the story you hear from this ex-Navy, Mark Richards, is just absolute bullshit. You know, he's been in jail for 38 years, and for some reason, Carrie Cassidy, my good friend Carrie Cassidy, believes every word he says, and it's all just nonsense. So anyway, that's my take on Dulce. Now, when Bob Lazar went to work at S4, he went a briefing on Dulce, but it was not good to use that Dulce name. It said there was an altercation in 1979, 66 people were killed. And what happened is a Gray was giving a information, kind of a lecture to 44 scientists in this auditorium. And during this lecture, or I say lecture, it's all mental, a security guard accidentally came in with his sidearm. And they're all briefed. Everybody that works at Dulce is briefed. There should be never any reason for you to go near or in or approach a Gray if you have a sidearm with regular bullets in there, because you will be dead. So for whatever reason, and it was never explained why the security guard walked into this auditorium, but the Gray instantly killed him. And at that time, you know, that was the Delta Force. At that time, his comrades who were watching all this on video came down, and there was 22 Delta Force that came down to take revenge, and the Gray killed everybody, killed the 22 Delta Force and the 44 scientists. There were 66 people killed, and Bob, when he was at S4, got to read the after-action report on that. The only difference was that the report intimated that it happened in Area 51. And the reason I think that is because Bob's clearance had not reached the level to know that there was a facility known as Dulce. But the story is true. It did happen at Dulce. Dulce is there. I had some good times with the sheriff there. I'm trying to think his name. He took me around one night, told me all the stories. And do you remember the sheriff's name there in Dulce?
No, it doesn't ring a bell, but I remember watching a little documentary that I believe he was on that documentary, I believe. But
it was pretty interesting. I showed up there, and I think it was 1988. I drove over there, checked into the hotel, and I called this sheriff. He wasn't a sheriff. He was head of the highway patroller. And I said, "Hi, my name's John Lear. You don't know me?" He says, "I do know you, John." And I said, "You're kidding." He says, "Yeah, remember 25 years ago, you flew a Learjet in here, and you had Dean Martin steaks for Dean Martin, and you brought in his girlfriend, and I'm the one that met you at the airport." So I had known this guy from way, way back. And he said, "Look, I've got my shift tonight is from 10 till 6 in the morning. Would you like to go with me?" And he took me in a patrol car and gave me, the whole tour of Dulce and all the stuff that was, all the stories he heard, everything. It was fantastically interesting.
So I meant to ask you this a while ago when you're talking about the altercation down there, when the Gray killed all those people. Now, whatever happened to the Gray?
No, that wasn't discussed in the briefing. Incidentally, everybody was killed, and they said everybody died of a head wound, and they didn't elaborate on what kind of a head wound there was.
Well, what is the involvement with the Greys and humans down there? Did Bob talk about anything like that? Are they working alongside each other? Did something just go wrong where,
they're teaching us and allowing to be part of some of the experiments. For instance, you've heard of Nightmare Hall, which is on the 7th level. And incidentally, when you say a couple of weeks ago, this Dulce, I remember a year ago, I put out, I think it was a 15-page story on Dulce. And I put all the pictures I had, all the diagrams of all the levels and how they interconnected, and the whole story about how I got involved with Dulce, including spending a couple of days with Dr. Benowitz. So that's all I know about Dulce.
But John, I tell you what, this was a treat and honor. I will have you back on in the near future, and I can try to pick and unravel that mind of yours, because you research a lot of topics. That's kind of like myself. I'm a no holds bar guy. I don't just pick one topic, let's say 9/11 and just research that, or UFOs and just research that. I believe everything connects like a jigsaw puzzle. Everything intertwines, like a spider web. And maybe if we can just all, as a community, really, and just kind of research and do our own homework with a lot of different topics, maybe we can all help each other get closer to the truth, whatever the truth may be,
I enjoy talking with you, Michael. And one thing I like best is you don't interrupt me, and you're very informed. So that helps when I tell a story. I don't have to explain the whole friggin' thing. You already know what I'm talking about. Now, I want to end this interview on a very sad note. My partner, Ron Schmidt, passed away yesterday of a heart attack. And I decided to do the interview anyway because with you, but I'm really upset about it. It's going to take me a few days to get organized. He and I were very close, and he was really a good guy. And I want to tell you one thing. He won't be coming back to Earth. He's going to be up there in the 4th dimension when he gets done with his life review, because he was a good guy.
That's awesome. And I just saw that earlier, I think today or sometimes today, I saw that on your Facebook. But that's a real sad case with that. I hate that happened. And everybody that is watching this or listening to this, go to John's Facebook page. You just search him, John Lear. He'll pop up. And him and a lot of people post things to his page. Just a lot of things on there. I'm talking about mind-blowing material that John and other people post on there. But John, I really appreciate it. I know you had a close friend that died yesterday, and I appreciate the hell out of you coming on still tonight. And until next time, like I said, I'll try to get you on the near future. I'll try to pick your brain on some other things. And you have a good evening, sir.
Okay, Michael, I'll be here whenever you need me. Have a great night.
Yes, sir. You too.